Good evening, everybody. It's me, Mitch. Thought I'd give you a different view on the opening tonight. Good to see you all. And let's get back to what you know and love. How was that? Something different? Wow. Tuesday night. It's Tuesday night. Here we go again. It seems like just yesterday it was Tuesday night. And every Tuesday night for the past year, I don't think, since I started doing these Tuesday night things, that I've actually missed any. I don't think. I have to go back and look. That came to my mind today when I was talking about stringing wins together and that little speech I gave this morning. And I thought to myself, geez, how long has it been since I missed a Tuesday night? And it's been a while. It's been a while. Hopefully we can keep this up for many, many, many years to come. I really, really enjoy these things. It's so great. It's so great to see you all chatting. I never knew it before. Evidently, we have a pre-party. We have a pre-party of many of the regulars from the private community who are really getting to know each other quite well. And they start chatting sometimes in the afternoon on this thing. You know, once I post a live stream, and I usually do this in the morning, if you go to it, the chat is there and it's open. Some people come in first thing in the morning to be first, to say hello. I love the spirit. I love it. That's just great. Tom, I see. Tom in Tampa, Viking 442 says, we need a 24/7 chat room. Well, I tried that with that forum on my website, but I did away with that. It was such an old school thing, required so much administration, and so few people actually used it that it seemed like a good idea at the time. But at the time those kind of forums were popular, I think we may have had some ancient thing called MySpace. And I think that was about it for social media. I think Zuckerberg was still in junior high school. And social media has completely replaced the need for any of that. So I finally just decided, nah, I can't administer it. It's using tons of resources on the website. And so I did away with it, and I haven't heard a single soul complain. So evidently it's not sorely missed. Ellen, Scooby the dog says, I'm going to email you about Discord. It's pretty good. Chafee has one. Yeah, I'm familiar with Discord. I suppose I could set up a Discord chat where you guys could chat all day long, but then you'd be chatted out by the time you got here. And I certainly don't have time all day to sit around and monitor a Discord chat. But I would take a look at it. I would take a look at it. Jody, my buddy Drone Shot, says, I remember when I made the internet. Yeah, Jody, I saw you standing up there with Al Gore claiming that you were partners, and I remember those days. Wow, we've got 67 people here so far. Not bad for a start. Good start. And here I am, talking again. My disclaimer, and you all know it and can repeat after me, I am not a doctor. I don't play with a doctor on TV. I'm not credentialed in medicine, nutrition, or anything else. I'm just an old guy, a curious old guy, who figured out finally how to be healthy. I experimented on myself, picked carnivore a couple years ago. It's worked great. And that's what I do here on YouTube, is share my experiences with you and many of the insights that I've figured out about why. What are the reasons why this works? and nothing else works. And hopefully explaining some of those reasons to you, doing some deep dives into what's behind the reason that eating this particular lifestyle is the appropriate lifestyle for the human body, not just a diet. I hate when the great unwashed out there call it the fad diet, a carnivore diet, just another one of those fad diets to go down with the potato diet and the Scarsdale diet and the grapefruit diet and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other miracle diets that I've seen in my lifetime and tried many of them. The only ones that made any sense were the low-carb ones. But the low-carb ones didn't knock out my addiction. And in case you haven't heard me talk about addiction before, I know. That's kind of the main thrust, or it has become the main thrust of this channel, because even since I've been carnivore, the importance of it has just been growing and growing and growing in my mind and in the logic of why everybody has such a hard time. And in that respect, I'm trying to help, and I get great compliments from some of you that have struggled for a lifetime like I did. And finally, this approach to it as an addiction has really made the difference for you. And when I see those comments and those compliments to me, it's very heartwarming, guys. So, as always, I thank you. I thank you for that. If you got it, drink it. I think we're coming to a consensus here, not just in my community, but in many other communities, that according to so many of the mainstay influencers in the keto and carnivore space, coffee's okay. Coffee's okay. There are some people who actually extol the benefits, that there are some chemicals in coffee that are good for you, the phenols and things like that. I don't know one way or the other. I just know that if you like coffee, drink coffee and don't worry about it. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be talking about being too, the only word I can think of to use is anal, being too anal retentive about being absolutely perfect, trying to be a carnivore in this world, finding food that is supposedly up to the standards, and that if you don't eat the food that's up to the standards, you can't possibly succeed. That's nonsense. Like Ken Berry said in a recent video, if you've got to eat bologna and hot dogs, you're going to be a hell of a lot healthier than eating what most people eat. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow morning. I won't spoil that for you, but I've formed a little speech in my head, and we'll see how well it comes out. I don't have a lot of announcements tonight other than the fact that a week from today, Tuesday the 24th, we are having a meetup. We're having a meetup in Tampa, Florida. It's going to be at a Brazilian steakhouse. And Terra Gaucho Brazilian Steakhouse on Dale Mabry. You can Google it, get maps, directions, however. It's going to start at 11:30. And I have on my end, and I'm not even the one that really put this together. Mike Shelley over in Tampa put it together. And I've been notified, I've got, on my end, 11 people. That's not counting Michael, but I did count his father. And my daughter's going to be there, who lives over there. So my daughter's going to be there. I'm bringing Mike's dad over. You might remember him from the meetup we had here in Melbourne. And he's going to ride over with me. We're going to have, unless something comes up, I mean, I haven't heard any different yet, we're going to have Robert Kiltz. Kiltzy. Dr. Robert Kiltz is going to be there, and some of his followers from that area are going to come join us. And Dr. Annette Bosworth. Dr. Boz. Everybody knows Dr. Boz. She's supposed to be there. And some of her followers. And I don't know how many. I don't know whether we're going to have 20 people total or 50 people. But however many people we have, I think it's going to be a great time. It's not too late to let us know, but if you think you can come or you've been on the fence about it and you decided you want to come, please let me know ASAP so we can let the restaurant know so they can prepare. Because they're going to have to not worry about the salad bar, not worry about the side dishes, not worry about the desserts, not worry about any of that stuff, but they are going to have to make sure they have a lot of meat. Now, I don't know if these guys really look forward to having people like us there, because they count on people to fill themselves up on all that other crap. Fill themselves up with the soup and salad bar and side dishes, because that stuff's much cheaper for them than the actual meat, than the picanha or the filet or the ribeye, any of that stuff. And here we come, we say, don't bother us with all that cheap crap. Bring us the meat. So we may have a great time, but they may not let us ever come back after we're done. Oh, no, I hope not. I hope not. I think they could probably make a little money on us too. So it's going to be a great time. If you think you might be able to come, email me at oldguycarnivore@gmail.com. oldguycarnivore@gmail.com. How many people you're bringing? We've got some couples that are coming. And let me know if you can, hopefully by tomorrow at the latest, because this thing is only 1 week away. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a great time. Let me start to say hello to some people, some of the early birds who were here. We have, first and foremost today, who came in at 10 o'clock this morning to say hello. Juan from Chile. Buenos dias, Mitch, he says. Buenos dias, Juan. Good to see you. I hope you're still here. Mark C. came in a little after 10 a.m. Good to see you. And Don Schonger came in. Cliff Medina, how you doing, Cliff? And Boyd Lamb came in. Also, we got 2 new members in the private community signed up today. We got Healthy Carnivore from the UK, and he's been a fervent follower for a while. Always comments on the videos, very complimentary to me. Evidently doing great. Thanks so much. Looking forward to it. I know that our 7 p.m. live stream on Thursday night is midnight or so for you guys, or late for you guys over there, but maybe you can catch the beginning of it. Looking forward to meeting you. Also, Isabella is a new member. Welcome. Welcome to the 2 of you, and I encourage anybody who wants to become an active member of this community and get to know some of some of the people that are, you see them in the chats. They're the ones with the green names. And look at the friendships. Look at the way they support each other. It's a great community, guys. Give it a shot if you think you might like it. You can always cancel it if you say, well, this isn't for me. Support and community are one of the most important things. Like any group that's trying to fight something, especially addiction and getting healthy, the more people that you have in your sphere, the less alone you feel, and the more you can swap stories, good and bad, with people that are going through just what you're going through. It's possible that a Discord server might not be a bad idea. And keep on me, Ellen. I'll take a look at that and see if maybe we can't set one of those up so you guys can chat all the time, except when I'm live. Then I want you to be here with me. Michael Celli. Mike Celli is Michael's father in Tampa. He lives over here in Melbourne, and he says hi. Richard CDL driver, always here early. Good to see you tonight. Texas. Tom, we met Tom last Thursday night in the chat, and nice guy. Tom, we enjoyed meeting you there. Hope to see you again on Thursday. Mark C. Hi, Mark. How you doing? Good to see you from sunny Alberta. My buddy, Jody, Drone Shots. Good to see you, Jody. And here's Michael Celli, United Carnivore. That's his channel. Check him out. Ellen says, okay, I will offer to help you moderate it, but don't worry, I'm not going to take over like some of those women on the other channels. I will. Okay. Okay. And who else didn't I say hi to that was really early? CB, Sheriff CB Carmack from Alabama. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Good to see you tonight. Coco is here. Hi, Coco. Always good to see you. And who else we got? We got Peter, Papa Carnivore. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. Ellen. Hi, I'm here for the pre-party, she says. Scooby the dog. That's Ellen. And those same people were chatting back and forth. And then Jerry Vajtush comes in from Ponte Vedra Beach. Totally enjoyed the Vinnie Tortorich Micro YouTube podcast Mitch recommended. That was one of the most entertaining podcasts I've ever watched. And I don't watch Mike Rowe. I mean, he goes off into everything, but he's not specializing in carnivore diet. But Vinnie Tortorich sure is. And what a great podcast. If you didn't watch that, you missed something. It's still there, though. You can go watch it. Richard CDL drivers up in Boston. Good evening to you. And Tom, Viking 442 is here from Tampa. We're going to see Tom on next Tuesday. Looking forward to meeting you. That's for damn sure. And the same people are chatting back and forth. I'm looking through the early chat here. Still haven't gotten anywhere even near 8 o'clock. Jerry, Papa Carnivore. God, you guys talk a lot. Ellen, Tom, CB, Viking. And Mark Davis chimed in. Good evening, everyone. Oh, you too, Mitch. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Susan M. is here. How you doing? And the people were starting to come in. Lori Weitzel is here. How you doing? Happy full moon partial lunar eclipse, otherwise known as Tuesday, to all you crazy carnivores from Ontario, Canada. And Mark Booz is here. How you doing, Mark? Always good to see you. Agnes, how are you? And Lambs is here. Quick hello and bye to my carnivore friends. I'm way past bedtime here. Yeah, it's the problem with Europe. That's why I do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. And we see a lot of you in that one. Tammy Pitarch is here. How you doing, Tammy? Good to see you. Good to see you. Richard Wood. I like the music. Yeah, turns out that's one song I can use that YouTube doesn't give me copyright claims on. It seems like the latest thing in music is if you don't pay a bunch of money every month to one of these services like Epidemic Sound or one of them to be licensed to use music in your video, it seems like the scammers out there seem to have made an industry out of claiming copyrights on just about everything. And I mean, I was using an old song, Body and Soul. It was a recording from one of my followers who recorded it himself on his own saxophone in his own studio and sent it to me so I could use it as uncopyrighted. And I was using that for a while, and all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, I get an email from YouTube. You're using copyrighted music. While this is not a strike, any revenue that you make on this video is going to go to the copyright holder of that music. Well, I work very hard, and if I make $4 on a video, or $10 if it happens to be a good one and gets a lot of views, I certainly don't want to share it with somebody whose music I was given copyright free, because they're now claiming copyrights just on the melody itself because it's an old song. So they just file these copyrights by the hundreds of thousands electronically, and YouTube throws them in their computer, and their computer picks them out and sends out these warnings. So it's getting more and more difficult for me to find any kind of music that I can use. And if I have to subscribe to Epidemic Sound, they have tons of music, but it's another $150 a year. It's always something. It's always something. Nobody owns anything anymore. You got to rent everything. Even the StreamYard that I use to broadcast my live streams is $20 a month. So it's $100-something bucks a year for this, and $200 a year for that, and that's what we YouTubers are faced with. Let's see. Are we up to 8 o'clock yet? No, I'm still not up to 8 o'clock. Holy cow, you guys are prolific. Lisa Russell, how you doing? Good evening from Albany, Georgia, and Tina Pope says hi. Mitch. Oscar Rodriguez chimed in. Good evening. He's from Miami. Man, we got him all over the place. And Bart Simpson's here. How you doing, Mitch? Don't forget to use your Sam's Club 2% cash rebate to buy meat. I do. Not only do I get the 2%, but I get another 3% from the credit card. So I get a total of 5% back at Sam's Club on everything I buy. I get 2% from Sam's Cash and 3% from the credit card. It equals 5%. And this morning, I spent about $100 in Sam's, and I had like $16 in Sam's Cash in there, which they deducted from my bill. Saves me on gasoline too, 5% on gas. So it's one of the things I like about Sam's. They got that credit card, and that credit card will get you 5% off on gas, not just at Sam's Club, but everywhere. But at Sam's Club, the gas is generally always 20 to 30 cents cheaper a gallon. It's crazy. It's crazy. It was under $3 at Sam's this morning. I didn't need any, but it was under, it was like $2.90 this morning, which I haven't seen that in a long time. I haven't seen that in a long time. We got Northside Hawk here. How you doing? And we have Sammy Shuford. I remember MySpace. You must be old like me. Yeah, remember that MySpace? So many of those things. Remember? Oh, what was the name of that? Oh, there's so many. Well, AOL, Net Zero, all of those early internet providers. Come and go. Come and go. Mama Cracker is here. Hi, Patty. How you doing? Says hello, Mitch. And if you have any questions you want to ask me, I can't answer medical questions for you, but anything that you might want to ask me, ask away. Put 3 Q's, Q, 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 in front of the question. 3 capital Q's together, no spaces in between, and I can search for that pattern, and it seems to pick them out pretty good. Seems to pick them out pretty good. So we now got it. We're after 8 o'clock. We were live. People were starting to come in. Same people. Laura's here. How you doing, Laura? Hi, Mitch from Montreal, Quebec. New fan on your talks here. Well, welcome. Welcome, Laura. Always like some new fans. And let me see, just for grins, how I'm doing in the fans department here. So I am up to right now 36,972 subscribers. So I'm almost to 37,000. Compared to the way this channel grew when I first started it, it has slowed down to a crawl, but it's still growing little by little. There are still people out there that I haven't pissed off, scared away, alienated, made it seem like there's no way they could do carnivore or any diet the way that I profess that it needs to be done to cure addictions. It's not what they want to hear. And that's the price I pay for being a hard ass, for figuring out how I failed for 75 years and not deviating from what I learned that it takes to succeed. So if that's the way it's going to be, it has to be that way. It has to be that way. I can't start putting recipes up there for bread and cheesecake and pizza crust. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. I can't. And those people who do it, they have very successful channels because that's what people want to hear. And there's no shortage of people out there that won't, for the sake of clicks and views and ad revenue, they won't only give you what they know you're looking for and what you want to hear. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to my principles. I think in the long run, people will succeed, and in the long run, it will win out. Hopefully, before I die someday, maybe I can begin to see some kind of change out there in the world itself. We'll see. We'll see. Mark Davis, thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. Are you going to make hamburgers from the hamburger maker, or is it too much of a pain to clean? I seen that 10-pound log the other day on your channel. Yeah, Mark, I bought that thing because I originally had intended to take a whole log and use the hamburger press. I found that it's just quicker and less mess for me to just take a pound of hamburger, break it in half, make 2 meatballs out of each half, put it in the bottom of the frying pan, and flatten them out with my hand. They may not be perfect. The thing is not hard to clean, but it does require cleaning. Now, somebody that was going to go into, maybe bought half a cow, let's say. They bought half a cow, and when you buy half a cow, you get a lot. You get a lot of ground beef. You get that's where all the extra fat goes. That's where all the scraps and the trimmings and so much of that chuck part and everything else gives you ground beef. And if you were buying a half a cow or a whole cow or a quarter cow to freeze, that press would be a great production tool to make a couple hundred hamburger patties. You store them. They sell these parchment paper rounds. So you make the patty, you put the parchment paper in patty, make them in maybe 10 packs, vacuum seal the 10 packs, and freeze them, and they'll last forever. So if I ever do buy a half a cow or manage to get that, I might use the thing, and I've used it occasionally. But no, I don't use it. I don't use it that often. I can't say I regret buying it. It sounded like a good idea to me at the time. There are some people who've told me they bought them off my links on my website, the Amazon links, and they really love them. Easy to clean. You just unscrew the push handle, the plunger comes out, and that's it. And you just rinse it in the sink with some soapy water and a sponge and put it in the dish rack to dry. Very, very easy to clean. A no-brainer. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Appreciate that. Questions in the chat. All right, I'm going to pick up the chat from where Mark put that, so I don't have to go back up to the beginning and see who I haven't said hi to yet. And if I missed you from an earlier part of the chat and you're still here, I'll probably come across your name again. Yvonne C., talking to Ellen. Sherry Morgan, hiya, Sherry Love and Light from California. How you doing? So as you know, Sherry, my dental appointment on Monday got canceled. I'm going next Monday now. Sherry has been telling me about some of her dental adventures over time, and I think I talked to the dentist office this morning because I wanted to find out what a timetable would be to replace an implant, and it's what I thought of, what I was afraid of. Number one, they got to take the old implant out. Then they have to, if there's enough bone where they even can do another implant, they have to put bone into the hole, and then you got to wait 4 to 6 months for that bone to grow solid. Then they can drill and screw the post in. You know how this goes. And then they got to wait another 4 to 6 months before they can actually put the crown on the post. And they can, I'm going to say 4 to 6 months before they can put the crown. So it can be anywhere from 8 months to a year. Little ordeal. And that's what, I have 2 of them, both my bicuspids. And that's what it was. It was a year ordeal. And the dentist made me one of those little clip-in plates with the 2 teeth in them. It was more cosmetic than anything, so you wouldn't have those two holes there. But we'll see. And if that's the way they go, I'm looking at about $5,000. And that's okay, because, you know, I can't think of anything that I'd rather spend $5,000 on than one tooth. But that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. And at any rate, we'll see. This kid who's my dentist bought the practice from my best friend in the world 12 years ago, 11 years ago. And that's why I still go back to Orlando, and I still go back to him, because my buddy Stan, who did these 2 implants for me for free because he was my best friend in the world. I kind of like that arrangement. I don't think that his name is Brian I don't think Brian's going to honor Stan's arrangement, and I don't expect him to, but I still go back to that office. I love the hygienist that's there. She puts up with me lecturing her about carnivore, and we'll see how good a negotiator I am. I always play that poor old guy sympathy card, except it's more or less true. That's why I'm working so hard. But whatever it is, it'll have to be. Now, if they can't put an implant in there, they're going to have to make a bridge, which they would rather not do, because in order to make a bridge, you have to actually compromise the 2 teeth to prepare them to take this bridge and put it in permanently. And That costs almost as much as an implant. So either way, we'll see. We'll see. And after we negotiate it and come up with a way to schedule to get it all done, I'll let you know. I'll let you know. But I'm going back. What's this I see? Sammy Shuford says link to join fails. Really? Really? Let me go to YouTube here, to the old guy channel. And what I need to do, well, of course, it won't let me join because it's my channel. So let me go into another browser over here. It's not Chrome. Hang on. Let me try this. YouTube.com. Let's see what it shows me. Does it show me logged in or not? Okay. And it says sign in. So let's sign in here. Bear with me. Okay. And I'm going to sign in. Two-step verification. It is sending me. You didn't lose me when I went off of that, did you? I hope not. Yeah. Did you lose me? No. I have to go into my cell phone now and tell it, confirm whether. Yes, it's me. Okay. So let's go over here and let's not now, simplifying my sign in. You've signed in. Add or confirm, add a picture. No, not now. Oh my God, but you got to go through all this to find the join button. And let's go to old guy. Bear with me, folks. Old guy carnivore, and see, here it is. Old guy carnivore's channel. Okay, here we go. So here we are on the old guy carnivore's channel, and there's a button there that says join. Okay, it should be on every one of my video, right near where the subscribe button is. So let me click it. Okay, it went to a place that says join this channel. And there's a button there that says join. I don't know how far you got or why that didn't work. I don't want to join my own channel here. But that's where you should go when it says join this channel. It should take you to this page. If it doesn't, maybe try another browser, perhaps. Don't know what to tell you. Don't know what to tell you. But a couple people joined today. They seem to be getting it. And Mark C here, Mark C, has donated 5 memberships. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. Always appreciate that, my friend. Always appreciate that. And 5 people have become members. And let's see who they were. We have, and I don't know where YouTube picks these people. Most of these people I've never heard of. I don't know if they're I would hope they're at least subscribers of mine. Somebody named Summer Shan, Michael Benson, The Imaginator, Susan Ivy, and Great Dane Lady were gifted a membership. I haven't seen any of those names in the chat, but Sammy, it seems to work. I don't know. You may have some antivirus software or something on your PC. You might want to try it. I appreciate the effort, my friend. If you can't do it for some reason, just send me an email, if you would, at oldguycarnivore@gmail.com, and let me know what you're running into, and we'll see if we can't work that out for you. At any rate, Mark C., thank you so much, my friend. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. Valerie Thompson's here. I get those 10 hamburger meat. I separate to 8-ounce and 16-ounce packs. Yeah, everybody does it different. See, I eat a pound at a time, so it's easy for me. I divide it into tenths. I get within an ounce or so of equal weight in all of them. I don't. Somebody suggested I get a scale. I have a scale, but I just need to be close enough. I'm not worried about that. It was Mark and Scooby, and I think I said, now, there's a question from Sherry. I didn't explain my question right. Okay, so you asked a question before, and there have been some questions. Let me go down here, and I see you have a super chat here. Sherry, let me see if that was your question. Let's see what you said. Sherry Morgan, yes, I designed my own front tooth. I have a nice collection. I have 12 bone grafts, ceramic implants, are best for the body, 3 more years for me. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Atta girl, man, it's an ordeal. It's an ordeal. And good luck with all that. Good luck with all that, Sherry. I say it's quite an undertaking. I'm bound and determined to keep as many of these teeth, to not go the denture route or have to get a full implant. Somehow, when I see a 90-year-old man with prettier teeth than most teenagers have, perfectly aligned, piano key white, you got to know they're not his original teeth, because teeth don't hold up that well over a lifetime. As you'll notice that even after a lifetime of care like I did more damage to my teeth by trying to whiten them. It ruined the enamel on my bottom front teeth. I gave up worrying about, as long as when I smile, I got teeth, and they're my teeth. That's what I want. And I can chew fine, and my gums are incredibly healthy because of carnivore and water pick and taking care of them. I blame all the dental problems I had on an overeager dentist when I was a kid. I told this story before, who thought the best way to make sure cavities didn't come back was to drill out a hell of a lot more than you really needed to, and that way you made sure you got all the decay. We didn't know anything about maybe not eating sugar. They always blamed cavities on sugar ever since I was a kid. That's not new. That's why, if you remember the TV commercial, 4 out of 5 dentists recommend sugarless gum to their patients who choose gum. Remember that? That's exact. Anyway, thank you, Sherry. Thank you so much. And I'm going to find your first question. But that was exactly the way that advertisement was worded. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend sugarless gum to their patients who chew gum. I'll never forget that. And the first thought that entered my mind when I heard that was, why aren't 5 out of 5 dentists recommending sugarless gum? You mean to tell me there's still one dentist out there that thinks it's healthier for his patients to chew gum with sugar in it? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I think I might have been 9 years old when I had that thought. And that's my outlook, and I've been cursed with that outlook all of my life. I hear something, and if anything about it sounds stupid and doesn't make sense, it's the first thing I focus on. It's the first thing that I focus on. Maybe that's the reason why I can spot real cause and root cause of problems. Whatever it is, I'm glad I look at things that way. It makes me crazy when I listen to the propaganda and the bullshit, however, when I hear some of the things that people just blindly accept. It's crazy. All right, let's take a little walk in the chat here and go ahead and see if I can find any of your questions. Papa Carnivore says to me, Mitch, how are you planning on cooking the pork belly? I've never made it and I'm curious how to make it. Peter, I hate to say I have no idea. I have a little bit of an idea. But like most things, I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel here. I'm going to do a little research. There's a couple of directions I want to go in. I don't want to cure it. I'm not out to make bacon out of it. There are a number of ways you can cook it in the oven. You can cut it into cubes and crisp it up in an air fryer. How to season it, how long to cook it, what temperatures, all that stuff I need to research and get kind of a consensus. And I'll be doing that. And then I'll experiment. So I learned to cook everything. Nobody ever taught me how to cook any of this stuff. I just experiment, and if something works and I like it, I say, hey guys, here's a recipe that I do. I didn't invent the recipe. Many other people before me have put meat over fire. Basically, that's what we do. So, I don't know, Peter, but it's going to be interesting. I think what I'm going to do with it tomorrow is I'm going to cut that big piece, because it's I'm going to cut it into like 4 pieces. So it'll be 1.25 pounds or a little more. I'm going to vacuum seal 3 of them, put them in the freezer so it doesn't go bad. I got it marked down. The use by date is a couple days away, but that, it's not cured, so I don't want it to go rancid on me. It is vacuum sealed the way it comes from Sam's Club, so we'll see. It'll be an adventure. It'll be interesting to see just how I end up making it. When you turn it up on its edge, it's bacon. It just looks just like bacon. About this thick. I have a meat slicer. I could turn it into bacon, but the whole idea is I don't want to cure it. I could dry brine it for a day or 2 in the fridge with some salt on it. There's any number of ways. I'll find them. I'll find some decent ways to cook it and share what I find with you guys, because it's not expensive, and if it's anything like bacon, it's going to become one of my favorite things. And most people who have talked about pork belly and eating pork belly are always raving about how good it is. So, Dan Hamilton says, Mitch, question. For some reason, my Avast antivirus blocks me from going to your website, says it's a threat. I've had a small number of people with some oddball antiviruses. God knows why that happens. I have no idea. The people who host my website, which is Bluehost, they're huge, took a cursory look, and it's nothing on their platforms. Maybe there's a remnant or something in the file system left over from that forum that I had. Rest assured that there is no threat, and any one of these antiviruses allows you to ignore it. But what I'm going to do here, just to show you, is I'm going to go into my own website. Okay, I'm going to go right to my own website here, and you'll see. And I certainly have terrific antivirus protection on my computers. I am not risking that. And there it is. Comes right up. No warnings, no nothing. All the pages work. Everything works fine. There's my carnivore basics. If you've never been to my website, got a lot of really neat information, and I'm going to be putting a lot of new things on it as I develop this series of videos about the best way to be a carnivore. I'm going to have all that on here. I have a nice little introduction on here, which is I think it's a really great summary of the carnivore diet. All the carnivore basics here, things that you should know. A little chapter to let you off the hook. Basically, it's not your fault. As I look around from my fat adapted perspective, I now see the enormity of the human race's compulsive relationship with addictive carbohydrates. When did eating and drinking become mandatory if any fun is to be had in life? When is the last time you've been dead? And on and on. And I let you off the hook there, basically saying it's not your fault that you're eating all of this crap and got sick. Our whole society is designed to lead you down that path. Then there's my favorite page, which I talk about a lot, which are my Amazon links, and everything that I recommend is on there. And you guys use it. I appreciate that. I have everything, even the cameras that I use. If you're curious about what I use to film my videos, exercise equipment that I have, all that stuff. So that's all on there. On the links to stuff I use every day page. This is a basic page about my YouTube channel. I have a Twitter, but I don't spend any time there. I do post things on there though. There's a page about me, and one of my videos is on there now. There's a page, if anybody is really interested, and this is basically for people who write me and tell me that there's no proof that evolution is a real thing. I don't want to argue with anybody. So I have all of these different links to documentaries from all reputable scientific and professors and everything else. And one of them should be enough, but they're tremendous and they're fascinating stuff. It's oldguycarnivore.com. That's my website. And never had a problem. All those people that use my Amazon links don't have a problem. Sometimes some of these oddball, especially any antivirus you get for free, or antiviruses that come bundled with computers that you buy, those antiviruses end up putting more malware on your machine than they take off. They're terrible. If you have a Windows computer, get rid of everything. And I'm telling you this from somebody who has been in the technology business. Get rid of everything. Just use Windows Defender. It comes with Windows and it works just fine. Just fine. You don't need Norton. You don't need any of that stuff. And if you've ever seen the story of Norton, you'd think, what a scam that was. So just ignore any warning like that and tell your antivirus to go to hell. Take me to Mitch's site. You will not have a problem. I promise you. Or try a different computer with a different antivirus on it. It'll work. Go to the library, use one of their computers. If it gets screwed up, you can walk away from it. Next question, we have Gary Williams. Have you ever experienced oxalate dumping after being poisoned for 68 years? I am dumping crystals. I have, my friend, I have dumped oxalates. Yes, I have. Through my skin. And kidney stones, holy mackerel, I had 8 kidney stones that were anywhere between like half a centimeter and a full centimeter. 4 of them in each kidney. I passed, or tried to pass, 2 kidney stones and ended up in the hospital with them having to go in and get those. Not a pleasant thing. Not a pleasant thing. And then they had to put a stent in one of my ureters, and 2 weeks later I had to go back to his office, and he had to go in again and take the stent out. There's some places in my body that I don't like people going in and out of, and that was one of them. Most of my kidney stones, if not all, and I'll know in December when I go get my imaging, because I do every year to keep track of these things, and year after year, especially after the first year of carnivore, they were reducing in size. When they reduce and get small enough, they start to move around. And I was always worried about, if they start moving around, I'm going to have another kidney stone adventure. But 2 or 3 times since I've been carnivore, I have had a sharp twinge of pain, reminiscent of the pain that I had when those kidney stones, those spiny little suckers, got stuck in my ureter. But it went. I passed them. I haven't had one of those in a while. I'm hoping that my body has rid those oxalates. I have had what looked like little pimples on my skin. I don't have any now. They stopped. But for a good year and a half, I would get these little pimples on my skin. And they would itch, and then they would develop a tiny little head on them. And I would scratch and eventually scratch and pop them open. And inside of those crystals, one time I noticed it. The other times I think I just scratched it away without noticing it. But I noticed a tiny little shard of what looked like amber-colored glass. It looked like amber-colored, little sharp, about the size of a grain of sand. And I've heard from other people that have gone through oxalate dumping that's a common thing that actually happens, is that your body wants to get this stuff out. If you have any concern about oxalates, Sally Norton has really become kind of the de facto go-to source of research and information about oxalates. And I don't know if she has a channel, but I do know that she's been interviewed by everybody. So just type Sally Norton into the search bar on your YouTube, and you should find, and you'll pardon me, I'm busy. I'm looking to the side because I accidentally closed the window with my stream monitor in it, and I'm trying to get it back here. Hang on 1 second. All right, I got it. Okay. Oh, Sammy, you did it. I just see Sammy Shuford join the channel. That's great. Thank you. Let me find that down here somewhere and officially welcome you to the private community. That's great, Sammy. I'm glad it worked out for you. And welcome, and see you Thursday night at 7 p.m. And if you care, join us. There'll be a link in there. You can come in, log in. You'll be in a window with some of the other people. We can have up to 10 people in it at any given time. Never hit the 10 yet, but we were up to 8 last week. So it's a lot of fun and full of just great people. Honest to God, the best, biggest-hearted people, diverse group of people, helpful group of people that you will ever meet in your life. And it's not just my community. All of these private communities of like-minded people kind of renew your faith in humanity again. And the highlights of my week is doing these live streams, chatting with you, and on Thursday night, actually face-to-face. And we have a great time, and sometimes we even talk about carnivore, but it's amazing how we talk about everything because it is private. never goes out to the public. We can say things we want to say in whatever language we want to say them in. And it's a nice break. It's a nice break. At any rate, thank you. Thank you for joining, and we'll look forward to seeing you. So back to the question about oxalates. Yeah, it can take years and years to get rid of that stuff. It's taken so long to accumulate it. And one of the things Sally Norton says that it can be dangerous if it happens too fast. And she talks about actually eating some oxalates so your body stops dumping those things so fast. I don't know if they're creating a problem for you, but that's something you may want to explore. I never had a problem where I had to slow down the dumping, but she has techniques for that. So Sally Norton, take a look at that, and I hope that answered your question. And we also have Sherry Morgan. Sherry had the same crystal pimples and a mean rash from dumping. Best treatment is bone marrow tallow. I use it daily and give it to my friends for burns. Okay. I never had it bad enough where I needed to put anything on it. Mine never really ever looked like a rash. I think all of my oxalates ended up in my kidneys. I think my body was trying to get rid of them, so I tried to flush them out in my kidneys. I think that's where most of them were. But I would get a group of 2 or 3 pimples spaced maybe a half inch to an inch apart. I got most of them, believe it or not, on my thigh. And then they would start to itch. I don't know if yours itched, Sherry, but mine would start to itch, and I'd start scratching at them. I knew what they were because I'd had a couple already. And I kept trying to pay it close enough attention. I really wanted to snag one of those little crystals and look at it under a microscope, but I could never hold on to one long enough. I got one on the tip of my finger and could actually take a look and see that it was kind of a glass-looking shard, but then it fell off or something happened, and I ended up losing it. It's that small. It was like a grain of sand. So we don't like that. We don't like that stuff. Anyway, thank you so much. And that's very, very interesting. I still don't know if I found your first question that you were telling me about, but we're going down the list of questions. That was the one about oxalate dumping. And the next question I find, Sherry says, I didn't explain my question right. I can gamble without any dopamine hit. Why would binging on food bring on that dopamine hit? Gambling does not remind me of food. Thank you. I can only say, I mean, maybe a psychiatrist, or maybe not, could answer that question. Why do I get a dopamine hit from carbohydrates and alcohol doesn't do a thing to me? Not a thing. Gambling, I can go gamble. All I do is scare myself. The thought of losing money, maybe it's a Jewish thing, but nothing. I'm not addicted to anything except boy-girl stuff, but that's just normal humans. We're all basically addicted to that. I always laughed when they talked about sex addiction. Well, Jesus, that's like I'm addicted to breathing. There are certain things humans need to do, or else they go extinct. They need to survive long enough to reproduce. That's the meaning of life, period. That's the only use we have, is to procreate and continue the species. So it stands to reason that our strongest urge is going to be to reproduce. And what dopamine does, it turns out, is you don't get the dopamine hit when you do the act. You get the dopamine hit when you anticipate doing the act. just like eating. The dopamine hits when you start craving the foods because it's the dopamine that drives you to get what you're craving. Otherwise, hunters wouldn't risk their lives. They would just hide in their caves. But they've got these neurotransmitters flowing, and their subconscious takes over, and their conscious shuts down, and they get a fight or flight type response, and they get to it. They go out and hunt and don't think much consciously about it. They just do what they need to do. Sugar and carbs are a substance. Gambling is not a substance, but an experience. Experiences can be addictive too. I can't tell you. It's just the way you are. There probably are plenty of gambling addicts out there that are not alcoholics or carbohydrate addicts. Each of us is a little different. And I wish I could give you a better answer to that, Sherry. And if I think of one, I'll let you know. But I can't, I haven't thought about it enough to try to go down a rabbit hole and figure what the nuances might be that might really be at the root cause of why we get addicted to one thing. Generally, it's generally thought that people have what they call addictive personalities, which would contraindicate what we're talking about. That would be that if you easily get addicted to one substance, you almost automatically get addicted to so many other addictive substances. I don't know which of that is true. It's not true for me. I'm raging when it comes to sugar, and I know why I'm addicted to sugar, and I've talked about and thought a lot about the roots of where that addiction comes from. And it comes from the survival necessities of our ancestors to eat survival food, which was carbohydrates, when there was no protein or fat, no meat, which happened quite often. And if it wasn't for the fact that we responded differently to carbohydrates, that we didn't get our hunger satisfied, that we were driven to find this stuff, driven. And when we found it, we were driven to gorge on it and eat as much of it as we could because our very lives were at stake. In our ancient history, and even in the history of the animals before us, it meant whether our species survived or not. And one of the, if you think about it that way, one of the cool things to think about is that you here are a living human on this planet right now. In order for you to have happened, in order for you to be real and there be reality to your existence, that means there has to be an unbroken chain of ancestors back to the beginning of life itself. Every one of your ancestors not only had to reproduce offspring who eventually became your next ancestor up the chain, but they had to come from a line of living things where that chain was never broken. And when you think about how many generations of living things have happened in that chain of events that ended up with us being here, you being you and me being me, it was millions and millions of generations. And in all those millions of generations, it had to have happened exactly how it happened. Not one difference. Not one difference. And we can understand that same reality when we look at our own lives and our immediate ancestors. Your grandparents. If you look into your grandparents' lives and find out, well, how did my grandmother meet my grandfather? What could have happened differently in the 10 minutes before they met that would have precluded them from meeting? If that had happened differently and they hadn't met, you wouldn't be here. And now project that back over millions of generations of your ancestors that lived before. Every one of them had a second by second difference in their lives. Any one of those seconds, if had it happened differently, would mean that you would not be here exactly as you are today. It's mind-boggling to think that way, but it's a reality that can be no other way than that. I think about how I met my first wife. I was stationed in the army in Germany. I ran into her in an NCO club in a different city because we had a band and we were playing where she was a librarian and she was from California and I was from Philadelphia, and we were both over in Germany at the same time. And I happened to be playing in that particular NCO club that night as part of the USO. I volunteered for that. And she happened to go in there, and we met, and we got married eventually, and we had 2 children, my daughter and my son. And I tell both of my kids, do you know what the odds are that you wouldn't have been here had I not been in Germany, your mother not been in Germany? I happened to get a gig at this NCO club on that particular night. She happened to be in there for some reason because she didn't drink. She didn't hang out in clubs. She wasn't that kind of woman, but we just happened to bump into each other somewhere accidentally, and now I have a son and a daughter because of that accident. And accidents like that happened millions of times in all the generations that led to me. I think about that stuff, it's mind-boggling. And you see some of that in these movies that have people time traveling, and they make one tiny little change way back, and everything is different. They call that the butterfly effect. Well, that's real. Any change in any of the things in your chain of living things that in all of your ancestors that happened slightly differently, and everything from that point on would have been different, and you certainly wouldn't be here now. Think about that. It's kind of humbling in many ways to actually think like that. Anyway, Sherry, that was a long answer, a convoluted answer to your question about why you're not addicted to gambling, but you had said that you had done that professionally. Well, that's a whole different. I think that's a whole different story. Maybe that had something to do with it. Hard to say. Hard to say. I can tell you that no other doctor on any other live stream in the carnivore space got a question like that tonight. That much I know for sure. Why am I going around in circles with these questions? Let me go to the bottom of the chat here and just take a look. Viking says, so what you're saying is I'm an accident. Well, kind of. Yeah, Tom. I think in that respect, we're all the result of an almost unimaginable number of random occurrences. Life itself is. That's my theory anyway, and I'm sticking to it. Sherry says that's a song by Travis Scott, Butterfly Effect. Well, the butterfly effect is pretty well known, and for those of you that don't really know what it means that a small, almost tiny, insignificant change in something can result eventually in a major thing down the road. And it got the name butterfly effect because somebody proposed that if a butterfly in Africa flapped its wings at a certain point where a storm might have just been starting to develop, that tiny little bit of additional wind from that butterfly's wings flapping might have been just enough to push that developing storm into the next stage of its development to eventually end up as a hurricane wiping out half the state of Louisiana. And taking it back to its root cause, you presume if that butterfly hadn't been there, that hurricane would not have destroyed half the state of Louisiana. And that's possible, and that's kind of the premise behind every science fiction time travel movie ever made. Look at Back to the Future. That kind of stuff fascinates me. I love watching these time travel movies because I like to see how far these script writers and authors can push that concept. Sherry says, thank you so much for answering my questions. Hey, I try, Sherry. You don't come up with the simplest questions to answer. I do my best. Bodzod says, like one enlightened thought can change all of human history. Well, exactly. Look at what Ancel Keys did. Look at Ancel Keys. You want to find an example of how one action, one person can change the destiny of an entire species on this planet? Look at Ellen G. White. One woman in the late 1800s, member of the temperance movement, had an accident, was in a coma, came out of her coma, and was convinced that she had talked to God 2,000 times and received instructions from God, which she started to chronicle and write down. Most of you know this story. Many of you may not. Ellen G. White hired a young 17-year-old named John Harvey Kellogg to help her edit her notes and produce a book of these so-called commandments or things that God told her had to happen. And one of those things was that man must not eat meat. God told Ellen G. White that man must not eat meat. Meat gave man impure thoughts and led to masturbation. Ellen G. White went on to be one of the founders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They sent this young editor, John Harvey Kellogg, to medical school. He became Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. They then bought the Adventists then purchased the Battle Creek Sanitarium and installed Dr. John Harvey Kellogg as its head. John Kellogg, his mission was to basically cure men of their impure sexual thoughts. And he and his brother invented cornflakes. And the purpose of cornflakes was so that men they didn't know how it worked or why, but it ended up neutering men. Eating these things are the reason that our testosterone levels are so low today and fertility is so low. And there's so much sexual confusion, and men don't know whether they're men or women anymore. That's gone to its ultimate extreme now. This gender identity nonsense that we have. And it all came because Ellen G. White had an accident. Talk about the butterfly effect. They are killing the world's population. And it all stemmed from that single one event. Another thing built on it, another thing happened. It wasn't a grand plan. They didn't say, well, what year is it? It's 1875. By the year 2024, we'll have half the human population dying from diabetes and heart disease. That wasn't the plan. But it all happened, and it was all built on those few seminal events. And when I talk about the butterfly effect, that's what I'm talking about. And each of us in our own lives can go back and find hundreds of those instances where if we had done something else, a traffic accident that you may have had, if you had left the house 3 seconds later than you did, you would not have been in that traffic accident. That car that hit you would have gone by 3 seconds before you got there. Everything that's happened to us in our lives, every second of every day, happens by random chance, random thoughts, random actions. Every one of those, in some way or other, has some effect on everything that happens to us in the future. I look back at my life in business trying to find those times when, God, I wish I'd have done this instead of that. We can find millions of those instances, and you just have to resign yourself to the fact one day that shit happens. Shit happens. Did I ever plan on being a carnivore YouTuber at 77? Hell, I mean, that's so wild just to think of, don't you think? You know, how the hell? Well, what do you want to be when you grow up, Mitch? Well, I don't know. I want to have 3 businesses. I want to go broke. I want to have a bad marriage that almost kills me. I want to have my company stolen from me. I want to be depressed for 10 years. I want to fall in the gym and hurt my head and have to have brain surgery. And then I want to discover the carnivore diet, and I want to get healthy, and then I want to go on YouTube and have a YouTube channel. And on Tuesday nights from 8 to 10 p.m., I want to be here in front of a microphone talking to my computer screen and a few hundred people that happen to be out there watching me. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Nobody does that. That's why making plans is silly. People blame it on God. People blame everything on God. Man proposes and God disposes, they say. So much for plans. The best laid plans of mice and men are sure to go astray or something like that. This is not new. That's why I hate to make plans. If you make a plan to do something, half the time, you're guaranteeing it won't happen. Every success I've had in my life has happened by accident. Right place, right time, meet the right person, end up in the right conversation. You can't know. You can't know how. You can't know how. My second marriage was ridiculous. I was married to a bipolar woman. It almost killed me. I met her. And I don't know if I've told you this story. I think I have. I met her one night. I was out. I was a bachelor. I had been divorced. I had moved from St. Pete to Orlando, and I was living in Orlando. And I went out to a restaurant that had a lounge, and I went out looking for a relationship. I was not in a relationship at the time, so I went out catting around like 30-something men do. I was in my 30s and late 30s, and I parked my car. And I walk. I'm walking up to the door of the restaurant. There's two women in front of me. And they get to the door and they open the door, and there's these big, heavy swinging doors. And they walk in, and I go to start to follow them, both of them in, and they let the door go. And it almost knocked me out. I put my hands up, the door went right into my hands, would have hit me right in the face had I not. Well, I was a little miffed. You know, common courtesy is you walk through a door and there's somebody behind you, you hold the door until they get their hand out on it. But no, these women. So I was pissed, and I went up to them. I say, thanks a lot. And one of them was really good looking. And she says, thanks for what? I said, you just let the door go in my face. And she said, I didn't know you were back there. I'm sorry. And that was my second wife. Five seconds. 5 seconds. Earlier or later would have altered my life back when I was in my late 30s so drastically. God knows what I'd be today. I very well could be living in a mansion on the water with a big yacht outside. I could be dead. Who knows? Everything that happened from that instant on changed the course of my life. 5 seconds. Don't you think I've thought about that? And I haven't said to myself, wow, God, if I had only been stuck at one more red light driving over to that restaurant, just stuck at one more red light for a minute, that would have saved me 40 years of immeasurable grief, anxiety, and pain. That damn near killed me. One red light. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about when I talk about everything happens as it happens, and we can't plan these things. We can't plan these things. So, a little philosophizing tonight for what it's worth. I'm still looking for questions here. If anybody's got anything, put them down. I don't see them. Hey, Mitch, here we go. Bodzot, another question. Hey, Mitch, I'm having issues staying 100% strict. Did it take you time to transition, or did you instantly become carnivore overnight? That's a great question. And of course, you have to say, basically we're all humans. But we are a conglomeration of trillions of cells, and our brains are different. And in most biological respects, our chemistry is the same. But we're all so different because of the path that we got here. Because we inherit our programming and genetics from our parents, and what we end up with is half from our mother and half from our father. So over those hundreds of thousands of generations, it's like mixing up a Rubik's Cube, with 500 squares per side. You get to a point where no side even resembles each other. Yet it all came from the same cube. This was just mixed and remixed and remixed and remixed so many times that what you have is completely different. And your history plays into that. What happened to me, I can't compare what happened to you. I have been low carb since 1972. I've never weighed more than 210 pounds. I have always tried to be healthy, and even then I got all these miserable conditions. But I've always been conscious about my health, and always, because I was always fat, a fat kid, and I didn't want to be fat. So I was always on some kind of a diet, but I was a severe carb addict. And I would lose the weight and gain it back again, and lose the weight and gain it back again. Always, time after time. Binge on those carbs, those sweets, those. I love bread, God. Bread was my deal. Bread, pastries, bagels especially, which are the worst, by the way. But I was keto for a number of years before carnivore. So I was eating mostly meat and fat. So when I went to all meat and fat, what I gave up at the time was just basically some dark chocolate, a lot of blueberries. I was making chaffles. I was using nut flours. And I would eat some veggies, some broccoli and some Brussels sprouts. And I was eating I was still trying to be healthy. So I was eating the salads and the spinach and getting my share of oxalates and anti-nutrients and lectins and all the other poisons in plants. But it was an easy switch for me to give that stuff up because I found the meat to be very, very satiating. And I had put on about 30 or 40 pounds while I was recovering from my head injury. I wanted to lose that. So I just went carnivore, and I didn't have the time. But I didn't go from a standard American diet. Now, somebody who's dealing with diabetes or dealing with other issues may have to transition over a period of time. Unless I got to know your history intimately, I couldn't even take a guess at what you might have to do. And all I can tell you, Bodzad, is you have to give it a try. And if you're having a problem, is it a medical problem? Is it digestive problem? Or is it just cravings? If it's just cravings that are keeping you from transitioning, then continuing to eat that food you're addicted to isn't going to really help you. If your stomach can't handle it, that's a different story. But if it's just your addiction and just the cravings and just that you miss that pleasure you get from eating that addictive food, then I would suggest that you take a look at my advice in the first 30 days in starting it. And my advice is very simple. I say, just eat till you can't eat anymore. Eat meat and fat. Whenever you're hungry and you start thinking about donuts, eat meat and fat till you can't eat anymore. And do that for 30 days. And if you have to, do it for 60 days. And don't worry about the scale. Don't worry about the weight. Just do that. The cravings will finally stop going away. You finally won't be able to eat that much food. And you'll find that even with eating all that food, you lost some weight. And then you'll start to really live again because you become a fat burner. And the cravings will take care of themselves. But it is going to take time. So that's about the best advice I think I can give you at this point without knowing anything whatsoever about you. And just talking in generalization. So I hope that helped you. I do. Texas Tom has a question. Mitch, can you please put links to the cameras and microphones and headphones that you use on your live stream, your videos, and your Amazon? I do have them. I don't have a link to the cameras I use in my live stream. I'm using a Ryzen, R-I-Z-E-N webcam. It's not something that I would recommend anybody really buy. It's pretty specialized for a webcam. It's fairly expensive. Pretty much any webcam will work. I wanted a side camera. I wanted this side camera, okay? So this side camera is a webcam I bought on Amazon for 20 bucks. I can put a link to it on my page if you'd like, but it's a $20. This camera here was $200, a webcam. But the cameras that I use to make my videos, which are the really better action cameras I have. I do have links to those and the wireless microphone on my Amazon site. The camera the 360-degree camera that I use, the one that allows me to go for a walk and look like it's a drone following me. That's a Insta360 X4. It's about a $500 camera. The one I used today in my kitchen, the one I use every morning when I sit out on my back porch doing my morning coffee thing, is a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. It's an amazing friggin' camera. Amazing. Has a gimbal on top. You can actually set it to follow things. So it'll follow you around. You set it on a tripod, turn on following, and you can walk everywhere, and that thing will just track you. And the microphone that I use, the wireless mic, comes with it if you get what they call a creator kit. Anyway, those items are on my Amazon link. The other cameras I use are just webcams for the live stream. This studio that I have here, of course, there's a lot of, I've got the microphone arm. I've got an Audio Technica mic here. Over here, I've got a Rode Duo mixer. This is a Elgato Stream Deck where it allows me to change scenes and do all that other kind of stuff by pushing buttons like that. But you don't need anything. You don't need all that stuff. The basic cameras I use are on my Amazon page. Hope that answers your question, Tom. And if you have any more questions about the cameras, ask me on Thursday night. I can dive a little deeper into it for you. Let's see if we have more questions here. Boyd Lamb says, are you contemplating a chapter video going down the rabbit hole of the gut microbiome? No, I'm not. No. I have no interest in, believe it or not, with all the hoorah, with all the noise, with all that stuff, I have no interest at all in gut microbiome, in probiotics, in prebiotics, in any of that stuff. I don't now. I never have. I doubt I ever will. I have a whole different philosophy. Doesn't mean it's right, but it's my own philosophy. And my philosophy is that the gut biome adjusts themselves to their environment, just like everything else on this planet, just like every other living thing. Either it adjusts and learns to live in its environment or it dies. It's pure Darwin. If you've got a whole herd of bacteria in your gut that turn fiber into free fatty acids, and then you stop eating fiber, and they find themselves with no food, they will diminish greatly in numbers. And once you settle into your diet, it's my theory that it's not our job to learn the hundreds of different species of bacteria that some expert who tells you to eat plants think that you need you need this strain of bacteria. This is good bacteria. This is bad bacteria. I don't believe in micromanaging physiology in any way, save for trying to find the nutrients that are not in our food now that were in the food that the cavemen ate before modern farming and agriculture, and when they were chasing big fat animals. We have the programming. All of these things regulate themselves. I've even heard Ken Berry talk about the fact that when you look at the gut microbiome of a carnivore, it's totally different than the gut microbiome of a vegan, and it's much healthier. Much healthier. because we're not cows. We're not supposed to be vegans. We're not supposed to get our fatty acids from bacteria in our gut digesting and fermenting fiber. We're supposed to get our fatty acids from eating fat animals. Our bodies work better that way. And that's my answer for that. I could be 100% wrong. These scientists may really be onto something. And I know they think they are. The thought of a fecal transplant to straighten out my gut microbiome, however, is something you could never convince me that I should do. Sorry. I think I let nature, survival of the fittest, take care of which strains of bacteria survive and which don't. And taking pills and probiotics to me is most of that stuff. I believe, this is just me. I can't say that I'm absolutely right. I haven't done studies on this stuff. I haven't done deep dives into it. I go by just the theory of the fact that our ancestors somehow lived. And that's why we're alive. And none of them even knew what a gut microbiome was. I think we should do whatever we can to stop trying to kill bacteria. I think that the less often you use soap, the less often you use mouthwash, the less often you use toothpaste, the less often you use laxatives, the less often you do things that may affect the bacteria that are living inside of you, on top of you, around you, in your mouth, in your ears, and everywhere else, that those bacteria are supposed to be where they are, and they're doing the job they're supposed to be doing. All we're doing with our antibiotics and disinfectants are killing off bacteria that we need to live and be healthy. And we become a bunch of big, fat, stinking, sweaty people because we don't have the bacteria on our skin. That's why carnivores don't shower a lot. They don't have body odor, most of them. It's amazing. These bacteria, we need them. They're there for a reason, or they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't have survived all the evolutionary pressures. If they were indeed harmful, they would have killed off that ancestor from whom you came, and you wouldn't be here. So I still believe, and I fervently believe, that there is an unbroken chain back to the beginning of life, from me all the way back through everything that was in my lineage. And they all lived, at least they lived long enough to reproduce. So I inherited those traits. The traits that would have killed any of them off, and did kill most of them off, I did not inherit. Or they were subdominant. They were selected out and never went forward into the future. It's simple logic when you think of it in terms like that. Sometimes it makes your brain smoke, and that smoke comes out of your ears. But that's my opinion. I may be wrong. I don't investigate it. I don't study it. I don't give a shit about. Well, that's not meant to be a pun, but it is a kind of apropos, don't you think? That may be the funniest thing I said all night. In case you didn't hear it, I said, I don't give a shit about the microbiome in your gut. How about that? All I know is that I'm doing better in that department than I ever have in my entire life. It is so enjoyable for me not to be plugged up, to be regular, to not even think about. I was so, God, my poor diverticulosis, hemorrhoids. God, my whole digestive system is trashed from being constipated so bad over all of those years and doing nothing but cramming more fiber in there and laxatives. So I didn't explode. I always was bloated and uncomfortable. 2 years on carnivore. 2 years on carnivore. It's a dream. It's a dream. Everything, it just works. I just can't get over it. I still can't get over how great life would have been if I didn't have to put up with all that discomfort and worry about it. Do I have a blockage? And having my colon so blown out of shape by being constipated all the time that I got diverticulosis, which is outpouchings, where stuff gets stuck and can get infected and become diverticulated. I was going down all of those paths: joint pain, arthritis, kidneys, all the paths, everything caused by poisoning myself with plants and sugars and then seed oils on top of it. And who knew about that? So I don't worry about that kind. I don't pretty much worry about anything. I don't worry about where my blood sugar is. I don't care whether I'm in ketosis or not. I've talked about that. I let this animal do its thing. Somehow it survived to be here in the year 2024 and inherited the best survival things from every one of my ancestors that came before. We do have the programming in us. It's our genetics, and it works. And it's not just genetics. Genetics is all, everybody thinks it's in the genes. There's really not that much in the genes. The genes contain chromosomes, or the chromosomes, contain genes. A gene is a sequence of DNA, and it codes for proteins. There's 25,000 different proteins, so there's basically 25,000 genes. Which of those proteins get transcribed and expressed is a whole nother story. And the instructions and the control mechanisms that decide where this chromosome unwinds and where it's stretched out so that a particular chain, a particular gene can be transcribed into messenger RNA. That's all controlled by something called epigenetics. And epigenetics, I started studying it. It's crazy complicated. What controls all that? It's crazy. It's so much more complicated in how it works the way it does than we ever thought. But it's in there and it works. Obviously it works. So trust your physiology. Trust your heritage and the lineage of living things that you come from. Do the only thing that an animal really has to do, and that is breathe, drink water, and eat nutrients. Fuel the machine. That's really the important thing. We finally discovered how to fuel this human animal in spite of the bullshit that's come before us. At least we're regressing back towards how cavemen did it. They didn't outsmart themselves. We're outsmarting ourselves. We think we can control everything, and all we do is screw things up and make them worse. Because everything is interrelated. Everything's in balance. Homeostasis, when you screw up one thing, when you ingest a drug and it slows down or inhibits a particular receptor, a price is paid somewhere else. That's why every frigging drug has a list of side effects as long as your arm. So you take a drug and then you get the side effects. And they give you another drug to combat the side effects, and that drug has another 100 side effects, and all you're doing is you're circling the drain at that point. The only thing your body needs to be healthy, other than staying out of the way of runaway buses, is the proper amount of vitamins, minerals, amino acids in the form of proteins. And that's it. And on carnivore, we're absolutely as close to that, I think, as a human animal can get in a society like ours with supply chains that we have, which is why I don't sweat the tiny little stuff and figure this is the best we can do. We can't all live on a ranch raising pristine, like Ken Berry always jokes, panda massaged animals. We have to find the best source we can find and just be happy with the fact that maybe it isn't perfect, but it's 1,000% better than the crap that they're putting in boxes in supermarkets. Wow. Where's all that shit come from? I'm sorry. I hope it means something to you. Still got 100 people hanging around. I haven't scared you all away. So I hope that answers your question, Boyd. If you know more about microbiome than I do, maybe there's something you can tell me that'd make me more curious about it. But that's my philosophy about all of that stuff, about not fooling with it. That's why I really hope, but I'm afraid that I'm going to have to. I'm afraid I'm going to have to take an antibiotic when they start fooling around with this tooth. I'm just afraid. And I'm afraid that antibiotic is going to completely screw up the balance of all of the bacteria in my entire body, which is pretty well balanced now because everything's working great. And it might take me a month or two to retain or reestablish that balance. But if I have to, I'm going to have to. That's why I stay away from doctors and medicines, if at all possible. Any more questions here? We're coming down to the home stretch here. Let's see. And B is a religious, evidently not the result of an accident. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Yes, you probably are, B. I don't discuss religion. I don't try to talk anybody out of their religion. I've always said, if you gain comfort from it, I envy you that. I can't. Sorry. I don't want to take your religion away from you. I just basically try to explain things in a way they make sense to me. Not looking to start fights or dispute any of your beliefs. It's the best I can do, but I cannot explain why this works in any religious way, because I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me. And if it doesn't make sense to me, and I always tell people, and if that's not good enough for you, then you have to find your answers somewhere else. I'm doing the best I can. Ellen says, hey, Mitch, did you see they are going after RFK for beheading a dead whale? Oh, yeah. Look, listen, we got 5 minutes left here. I'll give you, I hate to talk politics, but I don't know how much longer I can even be out and aware of what's going on and what these people won't go through to make sure they retain their power. They've tried to shoot Trump twice already. Our media won't even acknowledge this second attempt. They're just, it never happened. They'd already forgotten the first one. Somewhere somebody has a hell of a bounty, whether it's a foreign government. I don't think so. I think I know where it's all coming from. It's all so corrupt, so crooked, so self-serving. Our entire world is being run by criminals right now who are in a foot race to see who can have the biggest yacht and the biggest private jet. I just hope we survive the next couple months, that's all. And as each day goes by, if I was a betting man, I would bet with greater odds that we won't. How much can happen? How much unthinkable stuff can continue to happen? I don't know. I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned. I try to be optimistic, but you hear stuff that certainly doesn't belong in this country. That's for sure. We're supposed to be able to trust the rule of law. It's all been weaponized against us. We're lucky we can stay out of the clutches of the Internal Revenue Service anymore. And that's about all I want to say on politics. Nothing I can do about it. I can go vote. Whether that even means anything, I'm not convinced anymore. It is depressing, but at least we're going to be healthy. So I try to focus, for me, on positive things, ignore as much of that noise as I can. And if they want to go after JFK for beheading a whale, so be it. What are we going to do about it? There's only one thing we can do about it, and that is to start trying to make changes at the top of this mess. We can't allow the current state of affairs to keep existing. It is killing this country, killing it. Can it be fixed? I don't see any indication of it until people start getting a little common sense. But their brains are so poisoned that we're approaching the walking dead as opposed to intelligent people weighing the policy of this candidate versus the policy of that candidate. Instead of diversity hires. Anyway, enough said before they delete my YouTube channel. All right, guys. Hope I haven't missed too many of your questions. Other than that depressing last 5 minutes, I had a good time tonight. I want to thank everybody. Thank you all for coming in. Thank you for hanging in there. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a good time. I'm going to continue to be a little bit optimistic. You know, I still would like to believe deep down in my soul that there are a few people out there that still have half a brain that works. And maybe some of them are smart enough. Some of the right people are smart enough to thwart all of these efforts, like they thwarted this second assassin. And hopefully they'll thwart the steady stream of them that are probably going to keep on coming, because they, whoever they are, have decided that Donald Trump is just not going to be the next president. They're certain of that. And they've got in place whatever they think is necessary at whatever levels of government they think it necessary to ensure that that never happens. That's what we're fighting. This isn't about what the American people want. That's naive to think that. So, short of a civil war or a revolution, God knows what's going to happen. We'll see. We'll see. I didn't think we'd make it this far this year. I thought the world would blow up sometime in June. I'm tickled that we're at least only a couple months from the election now. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll get it over with. Somehow I think on election night, the battle will only just begin rather than, because that's been the way the last few elections have gone. Nobody can ever accept the results. I still remember back in the year 2000 when, with the hanging chads. So this is nothing new. This is nothing new. All right, guys. I've enjoyed it. Time for a little traveling music. It's 10 o'clock. Somehow, we kept going for 2 full hours tonight. I love that music. I love it. Still got 100 of you here. That's great. That's great. Y'all know who John Panette was, that overweight, heavyset comedian, funny guy. He died. Most of these big comedians end up dying. And he did a routine about a Chinese buffet. And he was talking about being in the owner of the Chinese buffet came up to him and said, you go home now. You've been here for hours. You guys go home now. You've been here for hours. That's another way of saying, my friends, till the next time, take the rest of the day off and eat meat.